What is up, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast. And, Big 12 awards are out for the men's side of things. And really, there's no surprise when it comes to player of the year, freshman of the year. But if you're probably a Texas Tech fan and even an Iowa State fan, you're probably a little bit upset about how the coach of the year went. But we'll talk about that in just a second, as we'll start off with the big dog in this one in terms of the player of the year for the 2021-2022 season in the Big 12. And it is Abaji from Kansas, a guy that has elevated his game every year he's been in Lawrence under Bill Self, and deservedly so. This comes as no surprise. This guy has been absolutely electric all year long, as has this freshman of the year in Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State. The guard up there has just been absolutely dynamite, and really a big reason why Iowa State, who was projected to, well, not projected, picked to finish last in the conference this year, receiving only 9 votes in the preseason. Everybody voted for them to be last, and now they're an NCAA tournament team, and a big reason why is Tyrese Hunter. Now, as for defensive players of the year, yes, you heard that right, defensive players of the year. You got JTT, who is obviously out for the rest of the season at Baylor, who had a gruesome leg injury, had surgery right away, and hopefully he can be back on the court next year for the Baylor Bears. Then you have Oklahoma State, a former 5-star recruit that went to Memphis, transferred to Stillwater this year, and Sessi, he is out there. And then you got Gabe O as well from West Virginia. So a 3-way tie and 3 players winning defensive player of the year in the Big 12 this year. As for 6-man, you got Jeremy Sohan from Baylor. No surprise there. He's been absolutely dynamite for the Baylor Bears this year and really has stepped up when they've had injuries and has been asked to do a lot more than you would expect for that role, but has done it and done it to a T for the Baylor Bears in Waco. As for the most improved player, probably one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player in the whole Big 12 conference, and that's Nigel Pack at Kansas State. He is absolutely dynamite. He is a walking bucket. He can shoot it from 35, 45, and you still have to contain him. Bruce Weber has done a great job in terms of really living up to that talent that he has on that team, considering the circumstances. Remember, K-State, they had 2 weeks throughout this year, especially to begin Big 12 play, where COVID just ravished them. They played a game with 7 players and 1 coach that's on their coaching staff. So a great job by Bruce Weber and a better job by Nigel Pack, who also makes the All Big 12 first team as well. As for Newcomer of the Year, this is where things get interesting to me. These next 2 awards, Coach of the Year and Newcomer of the Year. We'll start with Newcomer of the Year, and it's Isaiah Brockington from Iowa State, a guard who is a senior. And I'll start with this. I think Brockington is the second most deserving player to win this award. I am absolutely shocked that he won it because, well, there's a guy at Texas Tech that deserves it more, in my opinion, and that's Bryson Williams. And you might be thinking, well, why does he deserve it more? Well, Bryson Williams, I don't mean to spoil the all Big 12 team, as I've already told you who's one player on the first team is. Bryson Williams is on there as well, and he was a unanimous selection. How does a unanimous selection to not only the all Big 12 first team and the newcomer team not win Newcomer of the Year? Again, no disrespect to Isaiah Brockington, who I think is an absolutely electric guard. Him and Tyrese Hunter are going to cause teams fits in the NCAA tournament. But that award should have gone to Bryson Williams, and I am absolutely shocked that it didn't, because watching Texas Tech and seeing how this offense is without Bryson Williams on the floor. Perfect example, their last game against Oklahoma State to end the regular season, where they lost 52-51 and went scoreless for virtually the entire second half, right? Like, they only had 2 points for the last 9 minutes and 48 seconds. And a big reason why the Red Raiders couldn't score was because Bryson Williams was in foul trouble. So I think Bryson Williams and his body of work and him being an all Big 12 first teamer unanimously, as well as Newcomer of the Year in terms of being on the newcomer team list and being a unanimous selection, I think he should be Newcomer of the Year for the Big 12. But again, no disrespect to Isaiah Brockington. I think he should be second, but Bryson Williams deserves to win that award. As for the Coach of the Year, this one's tough because I think this comes back to the whole argument of, it's kind of like LeBron James in the NBA, right? You could probably give LeBron James the MVP every year. You could probably give Mike Trout the MVP in baseball every year. And I think you can say the same thing right now. And Scott Drew is just slowly starting this at Baylor after he won it last year as well. I don't think people realize, outside of maybe Baylor, how good of a job Scott Drew has done this year. And that's no disrespect to Mark Adams or TJ up at Iowa State. In fact, if I had a vote, which I obviously don't, I probably would have gone with TJ or Mark, one of those two guys, and I would have been okay either way. But I'm also okay with Scott Drew because he has 11 quad one wins. They do have a lot of injuries. They lost a lot of that team from last year outside of 3 or 4 guys, right? And so I look at their team and think, okay, yes, they did have high expectations, but people think that they were picked to win the conference. People have to remember Kansas was picked to win it, which they did, tie with Baylor. And then Texas was actually picked to finish second. So Baylor was projected third with 67 votes. Texas Tech was right behind them in fourth with 51. So I think Scott Drew did an electric job. He's a really good coach. I don't have a problem with him winning it. That being said, if I did have a vote, I probably would have gone with Mark Adams or TJ up at Iowa State. As for the remaining all Big 12 teams, let's start with the first one. We got James Akinjo from Baylor, one of the best guards, if not the best guard in the Big 12. In fact, I mean, man, it's tough. I mean, you look, there are so many good guards in this league. Isaiah Brockington is also an all Big 12 first teamer, not unanimously. The only 2 unanimous selections to the all Big 12 first team was that of Ojai Abaji from Kansas and Bryson Williams from Texas Tech. The other first teamer in the Big 12 was Nigel Pack. Moving on to the all Big 12 second team, you got Flanger up at Baylor. Braun at Kansas, no surprise there. Christian Braun is one of the most underrated players in the country. You got Mike Miles at TCU, Timmy Allen, and then you got Taz Sherman. A bunch of guards there. Timmy Allen really is the only forward on that list. And then you go to the all Big 12 third team. Looking at it, you got McCormick. You have Wilson from Kansas as well. You got Mark Smith from Kansas State, an under the radar player up there for Bruce Weber and the Wildcats. Avery Anderson from Oklahoma State. And then you have Marcus Carr, who is the projected preseason newcomer of the year. He finishes on the all Big 12 third team at the University of Texas. In terms of the honorable mentions, some of the ones that stand out were Matthew Myers, Adonis Arms, Kevin McCullough, the last 2 from Texas Tech. And then as well, you have Amaji Gibson from Oklahoma. As for the all defensive team for the Big 12, you got JTT at Baylor. You got Dwayne Harris Jr. at Kansas. Marquise Noel from Kansas State. You got Sessi from Oklahoma State, and you got Big O, Gabe O from West Virginia. As for the all Big 12 newcomer team, I mentioned it a little earlier, one unanimous selection, and that was Bryson Williams. Again, don't know how he didn't win newcomer of the year, but you got James Akinjo, you got Isaiah Brockington, Mark Smith, Timmy Allen, and the aforementioned Bryson Williams from Texas Tech. Now, the Big 12 all freshman team, you got Jeremy from Baylor. As I mentioned, he won 6th man of the year. You got Kendall Brown from Baylor as well. KJ Adams Jr. from Kansas, Tyrese Hunter. And then you have CJ Nolan from Oklahoma. Again, the big names on here and the ones that shouldn't be a surprise, the player of the year for the Big 12, as well as the freshman of the year. And we're talking about Ojai Abaji from Kansas and then Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State. He won freshman of the year while Abaji won player of the year. The 2 that really, I think the one actually that is going to get a lot of people going is that coach of the year, especially fans from Ames and Lubbock. But Scott Drew does win coach of the year in the Big 12 and the newcomer of the year. A bit surprising to me. I probably would have gone with Bryson Williams. It's not a probably. I would have gone with Bryson Williams to win newcomer of the year is Isaiah Brockington, senior guard from Iowa State. If you disagree with any of these and you think that something needs to be changed on this list, hey, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe. We're giving you daily content right now during March, just really trying to keep up with all the madness going on in this crazy month. If you want to stay in the know on everything Big 12 related and a little bit of Texas Tech in there too, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that button red into gray and help us get to 250 by the end of the month right here on the best podcast really in all the Big 12. Let's just be honest about it. Of course, I'm talking about the Back to 12 podcast.